What's up, YouTube? Eric here, Mr. Fired Up Wealth. Excited, guys, to bring you a new series today. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence stocks, the top AI stocks. Now, these are high growth artificial intelligence stocks. And when you think of AI, it's a very complex universe. There's lots of different pieces that go into artificial intelligence. So in this video today, I'm gonna break that down for you, explain the difference between AI, machine learning, robotics. Then we're gonna look at the total addressable market and the highest growth segments within AI. And from there, we'll start covering some stocks. Today, I'm gonna cover 3 stocks, and I'm guessing you might not have even heard of at least 1 or 2 of these stocks. And what I'm trying to do is find high growth stocks that target secular growth trends, that target mega trends, that use artificial intelligence to get the job done. So it's a very diverse universe. We're going to cover lots of different stocks. There's going to be several videos, probably at least 4 videos in this series. With that said, this is high growth, okay? So you think of the FANG stocks, Microsoft, those all have major AI components, but they're not high growth stocks at this point. They're more mature. So I own those stocks in my portfolio. I like those stocks for AI, but this series is gonna play more of the niche high growth stocks. So we wanna do different verticals, different secular growth trends. So you're gonna wanna subscribe, click the bell to get notifications. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, guys, let's kick off the series, artificial intelligence. There's gonna be several videos, probably at least 4 videos. The final video, the #1 stock, is gonna have its own video. So definitely subscribe. You're not gonna wanna miss this series. Let's get into it. Let's first do an overview of AI, then we'll get into 3 of my stock picks today. Now, 2 of these 3 stocks, at least 1, if not 2, you might not know much about at all. What I'd like to do as we're going through this series, guys, please comment below. Let me know if you like the stocks, if you have other stocks within the AI space that you'd like me to explore. And I'm also going to just be covering these stocks from a high level. So if you remember when we did the top 10 e-commerce stocks, we went through and we did the stocks. We did 2 or 3 minutes on each stock. And then I asked the community which stocks they wanted deep dive analysis on. I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of each company. Comment below. Let me know if there's stocks that you want me to include on the list. Let me know if you want deeper dives. Definitely keep the conversation going. Subscribe and like. Now, before we go on, isn't this like one of the coolest slide decks you've ever seen? I think it's pretty cool. So AI, very, very diverse, right? You think of artificial intelligence, you got cybernetics, problem solving, deep learning, machine learning, robotics, neural networks. You could even include things like augmented reality. There's an entire universe that falls under the term artificial intelligence, and sometimes it's even misused. So I'd like to explain what artificial intelligence is all about. Let's break it down. All right, guys, you can see this is from Dell Technologies, the difference between AI, machine learning, and robots. I think this will be really helpful. There is a lot of buzz around the emerging technologies of artificial intelligence and machine learning, so much so that these terms often get used interchangeably and sometimes even wrong. Even robotics gets thrown in the mix. But what does each really even mean, and how are they related? And most importantly, how are companies using these technologies to transform existing processes and create unparalleled user experiences? So in simplest terms, artificial intelligence is a broad term. It's a very broad term that describes machines programmed to think, work, and react like humans. AI can be classified 2 ways based on the sophistication of the technology, which is really key. So applied AI, sometimes referred to as narrow or weak AI, is when machines are designed to manage specific tasks. This is most common form of AI we see today, such as software designed to recognize images or trade stocks. So algorithms that are used on Wall Street are applied AI. Generalized AI, also known as artificial general intelligence. Generalized AI covers technology that can evolve and improve to handle any task. It's an emerging area of AI, and it brings us to machine learning. 72% of decision makers believe that AI will be the biggest business advantage of the future. That is a really powerful statement right there. So machine learning, the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. This goes all the way back to 1959, Arthur Samuel. Machine learning is the science of training devices or software to perform a task and improve its capabilities by feeding data and information so it can learn over time. All machine learning is AI, but not all AI is machine learning. So as an example, guys, chatbots that are coded to use like a rules-based system. A chatbot designed with machine learning would be able to learn new terms and new questions. If it's just using the same terms and questions every time, then it's not machine learning. Machine learning would actually take it another level and allow the software to learn and to improve as it gets more data and as time goes on. Okay, so what's deep learning? That's a subset of machine learning. Typical machine learning needs to be told how to make an accurate prediction using the data it is fed. In contrast, deep learning is designed to function like the human brain. So this is like really advanced machine learning using algorithms called an artificial neural network. So if you see ANN, that's what this means, to process information like a human would, as similar as we could possibly make it to a human brain. So when you think of AI in action, you think of autonomous vehicles. We've been covering that on the channel. You think of education, it can be applied. Retail, predicting what consumers want to buy. We mentioned Amazon earlier. Manufacturing, tracking factory production to alert humans about fixes and errors. Finance, sorting through vast amounts of real-time data to predict the most effective trades, things like that. We're actually going to cover a couple different sectors today. I'm going to bring 3 stocks here, so stay tuned for those. One's going to be a fintech related stock. One's going to be healthcare, and the other one I'll just leave as a surprise for now. See if you can guess what they are. Definitely watch the whole video. If this is helpful to you guys, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. You're going to want to see this series. So real quick, guys, robotics. Even the term robotics gets used under AI, right? But not all robots are actually smart. A robot is a machine that does work by itself, following a set of rules programmed by a computer. And this is going to be really important. I want you to think about this and think about some of the stocks that are going to be on here, because I know what's going to happen. There's going to be people that are going to come, they're not going to watch the video, and they're going to say, what about Microsoft? We're focused on high growth stocks, and we're focused on specific sectors and specific subsets of AI. So this is going to be a really cool series, cover a lot of different types of companies. So some robots don't really have the intelligence built in. They just do stuff, right? And smart robots can be trained to carry out complex tasks that require more thought and adaptation. Okay, so this helps paint a better picture, I think, of what AI is and the different types of AI. Let's get into some of the total addressable market and the highest growth segments under the umbrella that we call artificial intelligence. All right, guys, let's look at some stats, some total addressable market. Let's just get the lay of the land for artificial intelligence, what it's all about. So IDC, Worldwide AI Software Forecast. When you think of AI, it's really software heavy, right? Everything needs software in some capacity, even semiconductors. So you think of AI and the stocks that benefit, it's a very diverse world and complex universe. This is really important though, because if you look at this starts in 2020, it goes to 2024. Now, if you look at the 2 lines that are going up, it's that purple line and that orange line. Those are the areas as an investor that I probably want to invest in. And if you look at what those are, that's AI software platforms, the purple line, and that orange line is AI application development and deployment. So when you start thinking about software platforms, we're actually getting back into the cloud universe. So you might see some fired up wealth favorites on this list, but I did my best to give you 12 stocks that gave you a variety in different sectors as well. So today we're going to cover healthcare, we're going to cover fintech, and then one more surprise for you as well. You can see that growth is actually pretty significant. On the left-hand side, it shows you the growth. That purple line for AI software platforms is around 45% between 2020 and 2024. So worldwide AI services forecast by technology, this is category detail 2020 to 2024. Of course, we're in 2021 now. IT services is significantly larger and has much more growth than business services. So again, now we're talking about a lot of these cloud stocks. So you're going to see some names in here that you've already seen on the channel, some favorites that you probably own. But what's cool about it is you might not own that stock because of the AI side of the business, and you're going to learn a little bit more about some of these companies. This is a good quote. The global pandemic has pushed AI to the top of the corporate agenda, empowering business resilience and relevance. AI is becoming very important across all the functional areas of a business. Advancements in machine learning, conversational AI, and computer vision AI are at the forefront of AI software innovations, architecting converged business and IT process optimizations, predictions, and recommendations, and enabling transformative customer and employee experiences. I had to actually shoot that a few times. That's a big sentence, but I think it's a pretty powerful sentence. AI is very ingrained into our society and really into applications for business. When we buy things online, when we surf the internet, everything is using AI in some capacity, and it's a very complex universe. We're trying to dissect that a little better, but this gives you a snapshot of kind of the total addressable market and some of the areas that we might want to focus on as investors. All right, let's get into a couple of stock picks. We're going to cover 3 stocks here. Again, You're going to want to see this series. There's going to be a lot more stocks after this. This is the first 3. We're going to go in reverse order. So we're going to start with number 12, then do 11, then 10. That's all we're going to cover today is 3 stocks. Then we're going to do more videos, and we're going to keep releasing those every Tuesday and Thursday until we get through the series. So definitely subscribe, click the little bell to get notifications. And if this is helpful, I'm putting a lot of time into this, guys. Drop me a like, drop me a comment. Let me know if you want me to go deeper dive on one of these stocks, or maybe let me know if I'm missing something. I would love to have the conversation with you in the chats below. So growth trends, that's what we're going to cover here, guys. We're going to focus on different growth trends, megatrends, secular growth trends that really capture artificial intelligence. So again, the FANG stocks, Microsoft, those are AI giants, but we already know that. So let's try to find some other kind of off the radar and higher growth stocks that really use AI to get the job done. So we're going to cover multiple sectors and different types of AI. There's going to be at least 4 videos, 12 plus stocks. Definitely subscribe. All right, you guys ready to get kicked off with number 12 in the series? What's it going to be? Fintech, Upstart. Now, this is a stock that was actually picked in the Fired Up Wealth community well before it made a massive run. It was actually at the beginning of 2021. A guy by the name of Miguel, who's been with us for a while. And a lot of members in the Fired Up Wealth Discord bought this stock and have done really well. This is one that I did not get on board with. I missed it, but I want to cover this stock because it really is built around AI. But this company, guys, is definitely a disruptor. It's disrupting banks when you think of traditional lending and banks. And it's something that I absolutely have to cover on a top AI stocks video because this whole company is built around artificial intelligence. I mean, this thing's been an absolute rocket ship. Upstart, can AI kill the FICO score? So if you're not from the US, a FICO score, a credit score, it's kind of how banks traditionally used to lend. And if you didn't have a good score, it's hard to get the best rates. It's hard to get approved for loans, things like that. So they're trying to change that, revolutionize it. This is an article here from Forbes. And last December, Upstart launched its IPO and raised about $240 million. On the first day of trading, the shares jumped 47%. But this was just the beginning of the gains, and the IPO would soon become one of the top for the past year. The return about 800%. Congratulations, shareholders. This thing absolutely has crushed it. And I mentioned that this was a pick in Discord. We actually, at the beginning of the year, all the different members picked their favorite stocks that they had the highest conviction on. And this was one of them. You know, I picked a few stocks in there, like CrowdStrike was one of mine. I picked DraftKings in there, Datadog, Marvell Technologies, but there's a whole list. And you could actually go sign up for Patreon right now, and you can get in the Discord and actually get that. It's a Excel document. You can get that and look at the different stock picks. We're going to do that again at the end of this year for 2022 picks as well. So definitely join the community. When you think of, you know, I used to be an athlete. I'm old and washed up now, but I did play college football. You know, had a great career. I was a D2 All-American, you know, not boasting or anything like that. But the point being, you know, I really miss that team aspect and having that camaraderie. We've really built that with the Fired Up Wealth community and our Discord community. So if that sounds like something that's enjoyable to you and you really like the markets and like to talk about the markets with others, definitely check out Fired Up Wealth Patreon. Join us on Discord. But again, guys, I want to reiterate that this series is about high growth stocks, and this definitely fits the bill. Reading this article here, then again, the company is a high growth fintech company that has effectively leveraged the power of AI. Boom. I mean, this is spot on, right? High growth, AI, fintech, bam. Its focus is on partnering with banks to provide a much better way to score the risk and automate the tedious processes for issuing and managing consumer loans. Now, the CEO and co-founder, guys, he built Google's billion-dollar apps business. So this guy knows his stuff. He also served as a product manager at Apple. He has a really good background, really strong management, which is of course important, especially for a smaller business like this. So very good leadership. It's done really well. There's a lot of people that really like this stock as a long-term investment. Of course, it's ran pretty hard. Stay tuned. I'll show you a chart and some thoughts on that. So their main focus, guys, is really to upend the banking industry's reliance on the FICO score, which I think that's pretty powerful stuff because it's a very old method of doing things. So it makes sense to me. The Upstart system uses AI and machine learning. Boom, right on point with what we're trying to cover here. So it uses AI and machine learning models with 1,600 data points and 15 billion cells of data to improve accuracy in terms of identifying and measuring credit risk. Let's read that again though. 15 billion cells of data. That is absolutely massive, okay? Absolutely massive. Some of the variables that Upstart considers are employment history, educational background, banking transactions, cost of living, and loan application interactions. So this is trying to use intelligence and logic versus just a simple score. You might have made a mistake and have a bad FICO score, but you've done everything else right. It's trying to give more of the benefit of the doubt and find people that actually will pay the loans back based on more than just one simple credit score. And that credit score, sometimes, guys, I used to do mortgages back in the day, and it really hasn't changed a whole lot when you think of FICO scores, but I used to do mortgages, and there's people that have bad credit for reasons that aren't even their fault. I remember when I first got married, my wife actually had an issue where they defaulted on a credit card, even though we'd already paid it. It was an error in the system. And sometimes those errors can cost people a lot of heartache and a lot of trouble and not allow them to get the best rates on their house or not even to afford a house, etc. So Upstart's really trying to up the ante and change the game. They're getting into other segments, and I think they'll continue to grow in other areas. So for the most part, Upstart is reducing the inefficiency with the traditional FICO approach. After all, about 80% of Americans never default on their loans, yet only 48% have access to loans at prime rate. This is powerful and really what it's all about. The result is that good borrowers often pay premium rates, while many other borrowers get loans when they really shouldn't. Now this, guys, to me, pay attention to this part, because as someone who worked in banking before, this actually gives me a ton of conviction on Upstart. And I've had time to kind of study this stock. I really didn't understand in the beginning. I do now, and no shoulda, coulda, woulda, but it's one that I definitely should have added sooner into my portfolio. But listen to this. Keep in mind that one of Upstart's banking partners recently eliminated any minimum FICO requirement for its borrowers. And on the earnings call, the CEO said, "To us, this demonstrates both a commitment on behalf of this bank to a more inclusive lending program, as well as increasing confidence in Upstart's AI-powered model. While credit scores can be useful, hard cutoffs based on a 3-digit number invented 30 years ago leaves far too many credit-worthy Americans out in the cold." I mean, that quote to me, guys, that is one of the most powerful quotes I've ever seen to literally explain what a company does in a couple of sentences. So, I mean, read that to yourself again. That is really powerful stuff. The Upstart strategy has certainly resulted in staggering growth. In the latest quarter, the revenue soared by, listen to this, 1,308%. Now, it's still a small company in terms of revenue, 194 million in the last quarter, and the transaction volume came to $2.8 billion. That was up 1,605%. The company was even able to generate a net profit of 37.3 million. So they have a net profit. They're not just burning cash, at the expense of growth. They're getting the job done, guys. I mean, this thing has solid numbers. The stock has run pretty hard, but for good reason, okay? If you look at it, that's up. That $37.3 million net profit is actually up from a loss of $6.2 million in the prior year. To expand its addressable market, Upstart has acquired Prodigy, which has allowed the company to move into the lucrative auto lending space. Boom. Listen to this, guys. Based on the latest earnings report from Upstart, the U.S. personal loan originations are about $84 billion, and they are $635 billion for auto loans. That's a massive sector. So this is kind of talking about expanding and expanding too quickly. But on this last earnings call, we just see a lot of opportunity out there. We don't think credit is a solved problem almost anywhere in terms of people getting rates that make sense for them based on their true risk. So you'll definitely see us move beyond personal loans and auto. But frankly, we have so much uncharted territory, even in those two categories, we're not really in a rush to do so. So they're focused right now on personal loans and auto loans, but eventually they'll likely expand into other categories. But what they're saying is they don't really need to at this point because there's so much total addressable market just in these two categories that they can already chase. This is a snapshot at the bottom of your screen from Fidelity. You can see it's actually up today about 4% when I was recording this video. It's trading around $236. So it does actually have a PE ratio because it had some earnings, right? So it has a PE ratio. The PE ratio, the TTM is 355. It's 354.39. That's pretty high. It's trading at all-time highs, so obviously be really careful. Now, looking at this chart, I actually broke this down on TradingView and kind of looked at it. The RSI right now, it's actually overbought. This thing probably goes higher, even though I'm not saying you should necessarily chase it or anything. I want to bring this stock to you because I think that it has a lot of opportunity in terms of a long-term investment. In terms of the short term, if you're not already in the stock, you got to be really careful of FOMO and chasing. But if there's any kind of opportunity for it to come down and you don't own the stock, I think there's definitely an opportunity to maybe add it. With that said, guys, if you own the stock and you're like, you don't want to hear that the stock's going to go down, it probably goes higher from here. In fact, looking at a chart, if the market stays intact, I think this thing can go all the way up to $295, maybe $300. It's overbought. There's a lot of demand. Institutions are starting to pour into it. The stock's probably going to go higher from here. You had a lot of opportunity to add it a lot lower than it is now. And it's kind of just making this straight line upwards. So these guys are crushing it. Be careful with this one. It's really hot right now, but definitely one that I think is interesting as a long-term investment. All right, next guys, I'm going to throw two complete curveballs. So these next two picks, they're curveballs. And I've never talked about the three stocks on this video. In fact, I've never really talked about it all. Upstart, we've talked about a few times on live streams and things like that, but I've never done a video on Upstart. These next two stocks I've never mentioned before publicly. We've talked about both of these in Discord, but this is an example again of why the Discord community is so amazing, because all three of the stocks that I'm going to talk about today, they were from the Discord community. So I'm bringing ideas to the table, but it's not just me. It's hundreds of investors that are really intelligent investors bringing ideas to the table. Now, this stock and the next stock I'm going to talk about are probably two of the most speculative stocks that I might have ever covered on the channel. I'm not necessarily saying you should go run out and buy these stocks tomorrow or anything like that, but I do actually think these companies are very interesting, and I want to bring them to you because I think it's important to bring you different ideas. I bring information to you. Your job is to decide what's best for you and your portfolio. So BFLY Network is number 11 on the top 12 artificial intelligence stocks. And I'm not going to cover this one in a lot of detail, but basically what's going on here, I'm going to read this. From underserved communities within the United States to remote areas of Africa, 4.7 billion people around the world lack access to medical imaging. We put ultrasound on a chip and created the world's first handheld whole body imager. Fusing semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and cloud technology has made it possible to usher in a new era of healthcare with a device that costs only $2,399. This is actually using a combination of artificial intelligence and machine learning. It's backed by Amazon Web Services. There's a whole case study you can go read online. But guys, I really wanted to bring a unique healthcare stock to this list, and one that no one really talks a whole lot about because I think there is some opportunity. Let me show you just a couple more slides to give you a little bit more information about this one. As with the last stock pick with Upstart, it has a really creative, really smart founder. The leadership is really good, but this is driven by the vision of an innovative founder. And that's obviously really important. So if you've heard of Dr. Jonathan Rothberg, PhD, founder and chairman, he's dedicated his entire career to enabling breakthrough technologies to revolutionize healthcare. So they want to democratize medical imaging. So 2/3 of the world has no access to medical imaging. They want to make it affordable, make it mobile. 2/3 of diagnostic dilemmas can be addressed through simple imaging if you just had the imaging to begin with. And so this is where it gets really interesting, because you think of augmented reality, it kind of falls in the AI space. It really uses AI for it to work, right? And so we could do like a whole hour video just on breaking down AI and AR and VR and mixed reality. And there's a million different taglines, but it all kind of comes back to machines and intelligent machines and data. Everything is data driven. Semiconductors in the new oil. The reason that semiconductors are in the oil is that data is really the new oil, but you need semiconductors for data to be relevant, right? So everything is powered by semiconductors. So this is really about telemedicine, AR. So augmented reality, which is using analytics. You've got ultrasound on chip devices, and you've got this whole cloud workflow integration. So this is a really interesting stock because it's a hardware company, but it also has this augmented reality piece. It also has this cloud piece that they actually partner with Amazon Web Services on. Last slide on this one, I'm going to actually look at a chart real quick, and then we'll get to stock number 3. So definitely stay tuned. Please hit the like button. Please drop me a comment. Let me know if there's any other stocks that you want me to cover, if you want me to go deeper on any of these stocks. A complete imaging ecosystem with BFLY. I think this is pretty powerful. So you got your devices, you got your intuitive app-based user interface, you've got education, cloud-based AI solution. That's where it comes back to the artificial intelligence. You got telemedicine, and then you got workflow EMR integration. Okay, one last slide, because this is actually really cool. This is just showing you what it looks like at work. So you can see on the top left there, you've got a nurse or a doctor. They've got the ultrasound machine. It's very lightweight, very portable, and it's hooked right to a smartphone. And you can basically take a look at this man's chest and see what's going on. I mean, this is actually really powerful. And I think it's one of those things too, where you're investing in a company that can make a difference in the world, like a socially responsible company. That's what I think of when I think of BFLY Network. It's one of those that you want to root for. You want this to be successful because it can change so many lives across the globe. So if you guys like technical analysis, I do chart day every Wednesday for the elite and VIP members in Discord, Patreon. Definitely check that out. This is BFLY Network, and basically it's live right now. It's actually trading around $13 a share. This is a double bottom right here, guys, and it's probably going to go a little bit higher. It looks like it might go to $14.50. So it's trading around 13. Look for another upside $1.50. I'm not a financial advisor, and I can't tell you what to buy or sell, and I could be wrong, but I've read a lot of charts before. This looks like a double bottom. Looks like it's going to go to 1450, might find resistance there, and could even climb higher from there. You can see it was actually a $29 stock at one point. You can see it got down to around 10. So you're not at the bottom here, but this one is still pretty attractive in terms of its price. So you can see live here on Google Finance, trading around $13. The market cap on this is about $2.5 billion, $2.52 billion. 52-week high, $29.13. 52-week low, $9.20. All right, guys, number 10. So this is the third one, the last pick for today. It's called Planet. It gets a little bit confusing sometimes because there's another stock that I own. I don't own this one, but there's one I do own that has Planet in the title. So this one would give you some high risk. It's a SPAC. It'd give you some high risk speculative type exposure into space exploration. But this does have backing from some really big names. I'll get to that more in a second. I mean, this is actually as simple as I can make it. So Planet indexes the Earth and makes it searchable the way Google indexes the internet. So number 2, focus on number 2 here, proven innovator in space data and ML analytics. So that's machine learning analytics. So it's taking a ton of data. Like every single day, it does a rotation around the globe, has to store all this data, and you have to find a way to mine that data. So there's a lot of analytics, machine learning, AI that kind of goes into this company to make it work. It has an established subscription business. This is part of the reason I like it. It's almost like a SaaS for space type stock. This is another one that was brought to Discord. The first person that talked about it would have been Derek. He runs our space exploration channel in Discord. Definitely check out Fired Up Wealth Patreon to join us there. But it does actually have a decent financial profile. I mean, you'd be surprised if you started looking into this company. It's been around a little while. When you think of, their global scale, so they have over 200 satellites in orbit. Listen to this, guys. Data captured every day, every single day, 25 terabytes of data every single day that they have to store and try to make use of. 100% of data is ML, machine learning, analyzed. 50 million plus detections. Their revenue for business metrics, they had $110 million of revenue in this last quarter. 90% of that recurring revenue subscription based. You can see this, the gross margins are about 62%. So it's not as high as some SaaS type companies because they have other services. 73% are multi-year deals, and they have 600 plus customers across multiple verticals. You might be surprised to hear that they actually have 600 plus customers already. So this is actually pretty powerful. Proven innovator with multiple compounding moats, cloud APIs and integrations, AI right there, AI and ML ready. So artificial intelligence and machine learning ready, data archive for machine learning training. So this is really covering a lot of cool stuff. You think of space exploration, you think of big data, you think of analytics and SaaS type software. It's kind of doing its own kind of niche thing. They're calling it 3 moats here on your screen. So multiple compounding moats, you can be the judge of that if you think it's a moat, but it definitely is an interesting company that I wanted to bring to your attention. But you can see, guys, it's really diverse because they do ag, defense, energy, finance, insurance, all kinds of different stuff. You can see actually they've got Google listed on here for mapping and internet. So they do all of Google's mapping internet stuff. It's a pretty cool company. It's actually a SPAC. Now this headline definitely will grab some eyes, right? Satellite company Planet Labs going public, backed by Google, BlackRock, and Mark Benioff. Okay, tell me more. All right, guys, so here it is. Planet Labs combining with a special purpose acquisition company, DMY Technology Group. And the ticker that you need to know is DMYQ. Now, this merger should be finalized pretty soon. It's not quite yet. Okay, guys, here it is, DMYQ. Now, the merger has not finalized yet. It's trading at $9.90. Now, SPACs can be really unpredictable, so be careful. This is just for your information, bringing it to you. I think it could be an interesting speculative investment longer term. In terms of short term, I couldn't tell you, if the merger happens, it's going to pop, it's going to drop. SPACs have been really unpredictable, so definitely use care with this, but I do think it's a very interesting company. I wanted to cover all these secular growth trends and megatrends, and space exploration is definitely one of those. This company definitely fit the bill for that when you think of space exploration and you think of artificial intelligence, machine learning. So here it is, guys. This is Planet Labs, the ticker DMYQ. All right, guys, that wraps up the first video. Again, this is a series. You definitely want to subscribe, click that little bell to get notifications. So as soon as a new video is released, You'll get a notification. You won't miss a thing. But I appreciate your time and attention, guys. I'm looking forward to the next video. It'll come out on Tuesday, and I'll do 3 or 4 more picks, and we'll keep going. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I'm going to drop a new video until the series is done. I appreciate your time and attention. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.